This is Gemara Baba Basra, Daf Kof Lamid Vav. And all learning once again should be an incredible zchos rafua shlema for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata d'shmaya. The koyach ha'tayra, which of course is completely infinite, should bring Yeshuais and a complete rafua shlema to Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva. We are holding on Kof Lamid Heyamid Beis. We are 3 lines from the bottom. Masiv Rav Abba Bar Mam. We're now going to ask a kasha on Rav Elazar. We learned to Shitas Rav Elazar yesterday, which was that you do not write ein koisvin. You do not write a star for a matana of a shchiv maral achar misa. So Masav Aramambol Barisha Amar Kisu Tenu Mana Liplaini. If a healthy person says, write and give Mana Liplaini Umes. And what happens? He dies before they actually do it. You don't do it. What's the obvious implication? A straight up kasha on Rav Elazar. Rav Elazar said, you don't write a lachar misa. We see clearly in the Braisa that you do. Answers the Gemara, Rav Abba Bar Mamal asked the kasha, and he answered, B'miyafa as koich. We're talking about a case where the lashon of the one trying to give away the item did it in the way of yipoy koyach with a lot of strength. Heichi dami. What's the case? Miyap es koyach. What exactly does that mean as we turn over to Kof Lamid Vav Amid Aleph? Says the Gemara Kedamar Rav Chista. It means like Rav Chista taught, which is what? V'kanina minei. Is that in the will, in the tzava of Vishchemara? What does it say? V'kanina minei. V'kanina minei ma'isif al matanasa da, that he wrote, and we the Eidim sign that the acquisition was in addition to that which was said Baal Peh. So what do we see? We see that if they did an actual kinyan, therefore they did it to strengthen the giving away of this item. So too in our case, the case is where he said, write and sign the star and give it to him, and give it to him, and that's the reason why we would actually do it, lachar misa, even though in general, Elazar says we would not. Itmar, and we conclude with Absak Halacha, Rav Yudah Marshmo Halacha, Kaisvin V'Naisim, V'Chinam Ravam, Rav Nachman Halacha, Kaisvin V'Naisim. And now we move on to a new Mishnah. A new Mishnah, which is really the flip side of the conversation we've been having, which is, how does a bari give away something after his death? Says the Mishnah, you're giving away your properties to your child. You have to write today and after I die. No. If someone writes over in the chasim to his son, and he wants the son to have the kinyan la'achar ma'isai after he dies, what is the halacha? Halav eina yachal limchar. The father is not able to sell it all. The father can't sell these properties because they're eventually going to go to the son. But v'haben, in the lifetime of the father, in yachal limchar, they should b'shazav, because they're in the rishasav. What happens if macharav? Says the Mishnah, what happens if indeed the father sells it? Explains the Mishnah, mechurin, the sale is valid. Ad, until when? Sheyamos, until the father dies. Machraben, no. Ein l'lekech bahem, at that moment, klum. But of course they get it, ad sheyamos ahav. So even though they're not supposed to, but lamais, if they do it, it works for that time period. The son, while after the father dies, the father while he is alive. Says the Gemara, we're on the third wide line, Kuf Lamed Vav Amid Aleph. Ask the Gemara, if someone writes, the first case the Mishnah said, you have to write Me'ayom Lachar Misa. Ask the Gemara, if you do such, what does that do for us? But you learned in the Mishnah, someone writes, from today and after I die, get it to suffix. What do you do? Meaning it doesn't really work, it's only a suffix. So why by us does it yes work for the matana? Answers the Gemara, also mesav klani tanay avi chazoy avoy. Aval hachachi kamrli by us it's klar gufa kan meyom beri la'achar misa. When it's a case of a get, You can't split a get into two pieces, so it's a suffix. Was it a conditional get, or was he retracting his statement when he said lachar misa? But by a matana, there is such an entity. What is that? That is that the guf adavar is a kaina now, and the peiros will be lachar misa. Continues the Gemara with the second shita in the Mishnah, which was shitas Rav Yosi. Rav Yosi said, you do not have to write me'ayom lachar misa. And even if you only roll achar misa, it will work. Rabba Rabu Achol Shal Gabe Rabuna came to visit Rabba Rabuna Rav Nachman. All Gabe Rabuna Rav Nachman. Amar le Rabuna Rav Nachman. Amar le Rabuna Rav Nachman. Boy, mine Allah ki Rav Yosi, in Allah ki Rav Yosi. So when he said to Rav Nachman, ask Rabba Baravua, who's sitting there sick, who they're trying to get a psak from him, ask him, do we paskin like Rav Yosi or not? Omer lei, Rav Nachman responded, how can I do that? Taima de Rav Yosi lo yadana. I don't understand Rav Yosi. Halachi by minei. You want me to ask whether we paskin that way? So Omer lei, ad by minei halachi loi. V'taima anamin alcha. You ask, is it the psak halacha? And I'll explain to you the reasoning. So by minei, Rav Nachman went and asked Rabbi Ravuna, Omer lei, achi Omer Rav, such is the psak halacha kibir Rav Yosi. So they found out, yeah, we go like Rav Yosi. So now, but Rav Nachman still doesn't understand. Basra did not go after they leave. Amar lei, I knew time of the Rav Yosi. Now I'll tell you the reasoning. Damar, the Rav Yosi holds zemana shel shtar machiach alav, that even if someone does not say meyom lachar misa, but the date, the time, it clearly attests that it was from today. That is the reason why it could work even without that line of me'ayom ulachar misa. Taninami Hachi says the Gemara, we have a klar raya. Rabbi Yossi ben Atzar, nay, the Brisa explicates clearly what is the reason, because therefore it is clear, and that is the reason why Rabbi Yossi holds you do not have to say me'ayom ula'achar misa. So continues the Gemara, now that we understand Shitas Rabbi Yossi, now that we found out that indeed we paskin like Rabbi Yossi, how far does this machlokes go? Asks the Gemara, what is the halacha behakna? When the shtar writes that the acquisition was had, that the Eidim saw that it was happening, is that enough? Meaning, not that the shtar is that which transfers the property, but the shtar attests to the fact that the Eidim saw the transfer happening. Is that enough? Or does Rav Yehuda require one to write me'ayoim in such a shtar? Amar lei b'hakna ina itzarch. Rav Papi Amar ika knisa desarch v'ika knisa deloitzarch. Says Rav Papi, no, it depends. There's sometimes yeah, there's sometimes no. Akan yavik kanina minei loitzarich. If in the shtar it says make a kinyan, at the end it says we indeed made that kinyan, then you don't need to write me'yom lachar misa. Kanina minei va'akanye. But if the shtar says in the beginning we acquired it, at the end it says acquire it, then sarech, because then it doesn't show that there was actually the kinyan, and therefore it says Rav Papi you would have to write ma'ayom ulachar misa. But maskal Chanina Meisura, Mikami, Dias Rav Chanina Meisura. I don't understand. Is there something that Alu Yadina Visifri Yade? Could it be that we do not know, but the Sfarim know, the scribes know? The Sfarim, the Seifrim, I should say more particularly, the Seifrim don't know of such a distinction, such a differentiation in the Lashainais. So how are we relying upon them? Shalinu Lisavri Demaya. So they went and they asked the Seifrim of Abaya, and guess what? Viyadi, they knew about it. L'safri derava v'yadi. So the Gemara concludes, indeed the Seifrim do know about it. So what's the halacha? Ravuna Breder of Yeshua Amar bein akanya v'kanina minei bein kanina v'akanya loy tzarich. They hold not like the chilik that Rav Papi made, but rather in both cases you do not have to write me'ayoim, even according to Reb Yehuda. B'dochta pitkama dehave ba'apanya pligi. But regarding a shtar that says b'dochta pitkama, that the testimony, the edus of this item took place before us, then that is where they argue. That is where Rav Yehuda says they have to put in mehayoim. Omer Rav Kana, Amrita l'shvayta kamei Rav Zim min Ardaiv, Omer li, aton achim atzni tell us how you learned. Anon achim atzni, I'll tell you how I learned. Omer Rav Nachman, says Rav the name of Rav Nachman, ba'aknai no tzarech, ben akani v'knina minei, ben aknai minei v'akani. Both cases that the shtar attests to the kin you don't need. The only time that they do argue is b'davka, in this place where it says that the edus in the shtar is that it took place in front of us, and it doesn't discuss the kinyan. That is the case, says the Gemara, that Rav Yehuda and Rav Yasi argue about. We continue 2 lines from the bottom of Kof Lamed Vav Amud Aleph, quoting the Mishnah. The second part of the Mishnah, which is what I call in the Chazal Banav Lachar Ma'isai. So we said the son doesn't get it and the father doesn't get it. It's somewhere in between. Itmar, says the Gemara, we quote Abraisa Machar Ben B'chayav. If the son sold while the father was alive, and then the son himself is nifter, so he sold b'chayav, which again, let's remind ourselves, the son didn't really have anything to sell us. He really only got a lachar misa, but he sold it, and then the son died before the father died. What is the halacha in that case? We turn over to Kuflam and Vavam and Beis. Amar Rav Yochanan, loy kana lekech. The lekech does not kaina, does not get this property. Rish Lakish Amar, no kana lekech. Rav Yochanan Amar like kana wa lekech. Why kinina bears kicking in a gof dami? Because Rav Yochanan is of the opinion that when you own the peiros, it's like you own the gof, and therefore the son sold it at a time that the father still had kinyan peiros, and therefore it's kikinyan gof. It's that the father, he had everything, therefore the guy does not have a kinyan. And therefore the father did not have an actual kinyan in the property, in the karka, and therefore the sale of the son goes into effect. Asks the Gemara, the classical kasha, 5 lines down, you're telling me that the machlokes Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish is whether kinyan beir is kinyan guf dami. Ask the Gemara, no. We already know this machlokes the itmar. On the 6th line, a machlekes we've already seen about Metzio. Ha-moicher zadeu lepeiros and gin. Rav Yochanan maybe v'kar, Rish Lakish maybe v'enoikar. Someone sells a field for its peiros. What does the purchaser do with the bikurim? Rav Yochanan maybe v'kar reads bikurim because some kinyan peiros kinyan guf dami. So you're able to say me'artzecha because it's called your land. Rish Lakish maybe v'enoikar, why kinyan peiros lav kinyan guf dami. So ask the Gemara, you already know this machlekes. Explains the Gemara, maybe yeah, but there still is a reason why Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish had to argue over here. Amar lecha Rav Yochanan aval gav. Even though I would have thought, in our case, it's the rich. Why? I would have thought, because maybe it's a father and son relationship. So maybe even though normally kinyan abeiros is kinyan agov, and therefore the father, yes, has a kinyan, but maybe in this case not, because maybe the father would be meichel and allow the son to sell it, kamashma not. And on the flip side, Rish Lakish Amar Avagav Debam Kinyan Beir is alive kicking of Dami still ach itzrich. Why? Sagad the Chamina Kol Gabi Navshe Afilum B'Makom Berei Navshe Adivale. Generally, you don't have the kinyan, but maybe Davko, when it comes to your son, the father does retain more rights. Kamash Malan, that he does not. So this case, even though we already knew this machlekes, was indeed necessary for the Gemara to say again. Stop over here as the Gemara now is going to continue with kashas and terutzim back and forth between Rish Lakish and Rav Yochanan, whether kinyan peiros, whether the right to the peiros is indeed equivalent to owning the karka or not. We'll pick it up from here. B'siyata Vishma.